My name is Sofia, and at 33 years old, I can say that monotony had begun to take over my life. The daily routine had taken over me. And although I loved Hugo, my longtime boyfriend, I felt I needed something more, something to awaken my wild and adventurous side. One day, while chatting with my best friend Anna at our favorite coffee shop, I decided to reveal to her a fantasy that had been tormenting me for a long time. Anna looked at me with surprise when I confessed that I dreamed of being with two men at the same time. Her eyes lit up with complicity, and her suggestive smile made it clear that she understood my deepest desires perfectly. It was Anna who pushed me to explore this fantasy, to live life without regrets, and to discover what I was missing. So I decided to follow her advice and take the plunge. That night, I decided to visit a local bar. My heart was pounding as I walked into the place. I didn't know what the night would bring, but I was ready to find out. I sat at the bar, ordered a glass of red wine, and began to watch the people filling the place. That's when I saw them. Two men, Sergio and Fer, were at a nearby table chatting and laughing. They were attractive, confident, and the chemistry in the air was palpable. I was immediately attracted to them. After a while, Sergio approached the bar and started talking to me. The conversation flowed naturally, as if we had known each other all our lives. Soon Fer joined us, and the sexual tension in the air became unbearable. My eyes met his, and his burning gaze conveyed irrepressible desire. I knew I was playing with fire, that I was about to cross a line that would change my life forever, but I could no longer resist the attraction I felt towards them. We moved to a more private table, where the stares and the rubbing became more intense. Sergio and Fer knew exactly what they were doing. Quillo was completely caught up in their game. The night progressed, and passion took over. Every touch, every kiss, every sigh took us deeper into an abyss of desire and lust. The three of us were given over to forbidden pleasure, unconcerned with the outside world. Finally, in a moment of uncontrollable desire, I decided to fulfill my fantasy. The three of us headed for a more private place, a room upstairs from the bar, where we indulged in unbridled passion. The room was decorated with dim lights that cast monthly shadows, creating an atmosphere of mystery and eroticism. Sergio and Fer explored me with their expert hands, unveiling every inch of my skin with fiery caresses. Every kiss was a promise of pleasure, and my heart pounded with anticipation as I plunged into the world of unrestricted desire. Forgive me for interrupting you for a moment. I know you are enjoying this enveloping story. If every word grabs you, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the little bell. This way, you won't miss each new episode full of emotions and feelings. Thank you for your patience. Now let's continue exploring together this exciting story. The night became a symphony of moans and whispers, and our bodies intertwined in a dance of ecstasy. Passion burned like wildfire, and I abandoned myself completely to the overwhelming sensation of having two men desiring me and satisfying my every craving. At dawn, I returned home with a sense of euphoria and guilt. I knew I had crossed a line, that I had betrayed Hugo's trust. But I had also discovered a side of myself that I had been repressing for too long. What I didn't know at the time was that the consequences of my actions would soon begin to take shape. Hugo would discover the truth through my phone, and our relationship would be threatened by the storm that was brewing. The days following my night of passion with Sergio Ifer became a whirlwind of emotions. Despite the intensity of that experience, the weight of guilt began to weigh on me. I knew I had betrayed Hugo, and the uncertainty of the consequences of my actions kept me on edge. A week after that encounter, as Hugo and I shared dinner at home, the tension in the air was palpable. His eyes bore into mine, and he finally asked me the question I was afraid to answer. "Sofia, is there something you need to tell me?" I swallowed hard and decided to face the truth. I explained everything, from my deepest fantasy to the night I shared with Sergio Ifer. The expression on Hugo's face turned from disbelief to anger, and his gaze was filled with pain. He reproached me for having betrayed his trust, for having broken the bond we had shared for so many years. The discussion that followed was painful and devastating. Hugo felt betrayed and hurt, and I felt guilty and lost. Amidst the tears and hurtful words, we decided to take some time to reflect on the future of our relationship. For the next few weeks, I lived in a kind of emotional limbo. My heart was torn between Hugo and the passion I had experienced with Sergio Iffer. Anna, my lifelong confidant, supported me every step of the way. But I knew the final decision rested with me. Finally, Hugo and I met to talk about our future. Despite the pain and betrayal, we still loved each other deeply. We decided to give our relationship a chance, but we knew that trust would take time to rebuild. The months that followed were difficult but full of hope. Hugo and I worked together to heal our wounds and strengthen our bond. But the shadow of that night of passion never completely disappeared. One day, while walking through the city, I ran into Sergio Iffer. There was a tension in the air when we saw each other, and I knew we both remembered that night. We exchanged fleeting glances, but continued on our way without saying a word. Life went on, and although confidence in my relationship with Hugo was slowly rebuilding, temptation still lurked in the shadows. Sometimes, I wondered if I would ever give in to my forbidden desires again. Months passed, and my relationship with Hugo seemed to be on the road to recovery. But the shadow of my affair with Sergio Iffer continued to haunt me. We had agreed not to talk about that painful episode anymore. The memory still lingered in my mind, a constant reminder of my darkest desires and the price I had paid for exploring them. Despite my efforts to put that turbulent shadow behind me, my life took an unexpected turn. One night, while Hugo was away on business, I received a message on my phone from an unknown number. The message read, "Sofia, do you still remember our night together?" My heart skipped a beat when I recognized the name that accompanied the message. Sergio. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I struggled to find the right words to respond. How had he gotten my number, and what did he want from me now? Despite the confusion and fear I felt, a part of me was intrigued to know why Sergio had decided to contact me after so long. Finally, I decided to respond cautiously, asking him how he had gotten my number and what he wanted. Sergio's answer came quickly. "Some secrets are never forgotten, Sofia. We met at the place where we shared that unforgettable night. Come tonight if you dare." My mind filled with conflict. I knew that seeing Sergio and Fur again was a risk, that I was jeopardizing my relationship with Hugo and everything we had rebuilt. But the temptation to relive that forbidden passion was overwhelming. That night, while Hugo was away at work again, I met Sergio Iffer in the same bar where our story had begun. The tension in the air was palpable as we stared at each other in silence. I knew I was about to cross a dangerous line, but I could no longer resist. The night passed in a whirlwind of emotions and desire. My encounters with Sergio Iffer took me to a dark, sensual place that I had been repressing for too long. Every caress, every kiss, every whisper reminded me of the passion I had experienced on that first night. When I finally returned home, I felt exhausted and confused. I knew that what I was doing was dangerous, that I was playing with fire, and that it could destroy everything I had built with Hugo. But I also knew that I couldn't resist my darkest desires, that the forbidden attraction was a consuming force. My actions began to take shape and affect my relationship with Hugo irreversibly. As the secrets piled up and the lie became unbearable, I knew I was on a dangerous path, one that could lead me to lose everything I valued. The days became even more harrowing as the consequences of my actions became apparent. Although I had enjoyed unbridled passion with Sergio Iffer, the burden of guilt and betrayal was becoming increasingly unbearable. Hugo began to note my aloofness and my evasive behavior. Incisive questions about my time and activities became frequent, and it was increasingly difficult to maintain the balance between the life I had built with him and my secret desires. One night, as Hugo and I shared dinner at home, his gaze met mine, and his trembling voice broke the silence. "Sofia, something is not right. I feel like you're hiding something from me." My eyes filled with tears as I struggled to find the right words. Finally, I decided to be honest with him. I confessed everything from my first encounter with Sergio Iffer to my latest affair. His face contracted in a mixture of surprise, pain, and anger. The discussion that followed was even more devastating than the first. Hugo felt betrayed once again. And this time, the trust we had been rebuilding was completely shattered. The sense of loss and despair, it filled the room as we both faced the reality of what had happened. We decided to take some time apart to reflect on the future of our relationship. As the days passed, sadness and regret consumed me. I had lost Hugo, the person who had been my companion and confidant for so long. Because of my forbidden desires and lack of control over my impulses, it was a period of painful introspection, where I faced my own demons and the consequences of my actions. I had learned my lesson the hard way. That desire and fleeting passion could destroy what I valued most in life. Finally, Hugo and I made the difficult decision to end our relationship. Although we loved each other deeply, the broken trust and the wound caused were too deep to heal completely. Time passed, and as I found myself alone again, I reflected on all that I had lost. I had learned that forbidden desires could come at a high price, and that the pursuit of fleeting passion could lead to destruction. My life had changed irrevocably due to an impulsive choice. And while I had experienced moments of intense passion, I had also experienced the pain and loss that came with it. This was my story. A story of desire, betrayal, and painful lessons. The story of how the pursuit of forbidden passion had changed my life forever. And so we concluded another exciting story. Thank you for joining me and being an integral part of Infidelity Stories. Every emotion and feeling shared brings us closer together on this journey. If you have been left wanting more and want to immerse yourself in more exciting stories, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the little bell. This way you will be aware of each new story, each new emotion. I hope to see you soon. I can't wait to take you again on a journey where love and betrayal intertwine.